we go. There we go. There we go. Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pink Elephant. I am Shanae, and y'all, this is going to be a vulnerable podcast episode. Some of you are watching and some of you will be listening, so I will try to be aware of that as I continue to talk. But this podcast episode is talking about how I went from being lonely to feeling fulfilled. And I know that concept can sound very, very general, very, very broad, because I think maybe everybody has a different definition of what lonely feels like and what lonely means. So I'm going to give you some context and background about me, and then we're going to jump into it, okay? All right, so I had my first child very young. I had my daughter in college, and I didn't get married until my daughter was around 3. And when I got married at around 25. And so a lot of my friends were not married yet, and none of them had children. I was the first one to have a child, which obviously 21 is pretty young in college. So a lot of my friends did not have children. And with that, that was the start of learning to adjust to a new life. So I will say this, my daughter changed my entire life, and I don't know if I would be here if I hadn't had her when I did, because guess what, y'all, God be knowing. Okay, all right, so anyway, had my daughter. That was the first moment of my life where I was journeying in a different direction than most of my friends. So fast forward, met my husband, and I lost my mom It's September before my wedding. I got married in May of 2017. I lost my mom in September of 2016. And between that, I had a second child, which is my son. And I had him March of 2017. So it was only about maybe a good 2 months between my wedding and my son. So a lot of things were happening for me at a very, very fast pace. So fast forward, moved to Charleston from Charlotte, and that was an adjustment, right? So my friends who I was growing up around, you know, my line sisters, my friends, those people, they were no longer around because I had moved to Charleston. So that again was the beginning stages of that loneliness feeling that I'm going to talk about in a minute. Fast forward, after a while, I got into a different career. Not even a different career. How about this? I actually grew in my career. That's what I need to say. I actually grew in my career. I went from being an internal in the office, kind of a job, to being out and traveling quite often. And with that, I slowly but surely began to grow in my career and got new opportunities. So I was steadily growing in it from a career standpoint. So with that being said, things were happening for me from a financial standpoint, as well as like just the amount of things that I was able to do because of my situation changing, traveling, meeting new people, being in different spaces. I had never done that before up until the point of me getting a new job. So all those things were happening. So I was growing at a rapid rate. Some by choice and some not so by choice, right? But nevertheless, I was growing really, really fast. So fast forward, I am now 6 years into my marriage. We'll be 6 years in May. And so 6 years of marriage, you're growing with your spouse. Obviously, you do a lot of things together. And my husband is a football coach. And so with that, I share him, okay, for a majority of the year with his football players, his students, the school, the parents, the community. He's stretched very thin. So a lot of the time I am home with the children, and that was, again, a lot and an adjustment. All right, so again, now I have 2 kids, and I am working, and I am supporting my husband as he is in his career and is in his dream job as a head coach, and he launched his own business. So I am supporting and doing everything for everyone. And yes, work is working. I'm still working, and I'm still holding on to some friends here and there, but I don't see everybody as much as I used to. Okay. So after a while, about 2-3 years ago, I started to feel like more and more disconnected. And I think a lot of people can resonate with this, because that was around the pandemic time anyway. So a lot of people weren't traveling, and then you couldn't travel even if you wanted to at certain points. So obviously everybody kind of went through, I think, their own journey of feeling distant from loved ones. So, it was a struggle. It was a struggle, but it also was a good moment, because I lost the most weight that I had lost in years through the pandemic, because I was able to sit home and focus and have good meals cooked by my husband, because I don't really cook like that. But that's another story. So so the pandemic had some pros and some cons for me personally, through just having time for myself. And during the pandemic time, a little bit before the pandemic, I started therapy. And therapy was my space, my time to kind of like start working on myself. So that's that. In 2021, I had my third child. I had my third child, and he was unexpected. And so that was also a turning point in terms of my life. So that's the background. I have 3 children. I have a 10-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And I have a husband. We've been married almost 6 years now. So that's my family. That's my dynamic. And I work. I work a full-time job. So that's a little bit about me. So think about it. I am a mom of 3. I am a wife. I work and I travel a lot for work, and my job is very much super fulfilling. However, it is very demanding too, because I have a big, more responsibility now in this new role. So again, I find myself growing. I've been really growing over time. My family grew, and so did I. I was able to go from, a less income to a significant jump in my income through my career. Each time I went to a different job, I desired more and I asked for more and I got more. I was determined to chase after my dream, and that was being successful in my career. So as I'm growing, I got to a point, I started looking around like, where everybody at? Where is everybody at? And there was no one around me. Okay, so let me give you some context on this. All right, so yes, physically there are people around me. Okay, I'm not alone in a room. I'm not, feeling like there's no one here with me physically. But loneliness extends far beyond that, right? Loneliness can be in a mind space, like meaning mentally you can't connect with people and they can't understand you, and you just kind of find yourself not being able to find that connection with someone just through conversations and thinking the same way, same mindset. It's the same idea that you want to be around like-minded people. Why? Because typically if you're around people who think the same way as you or have the same thought process as you, you tend to grow together and you become a better person, like-minded, right? Then, there's another idea or another area where you kind of feel like, wow, I am not getting invited to stuff, right? Maybe some of your friends are able to get together more often because I'm here in Charleston. I'm not in Charlotte anymore. My friends are all single still. They're able to mingle. They're able to go out. Everybody going to Mexico. It's a different lifestyle, right? So you find yourself being like excluded, not by anyone, no fault to anyone, no fault to myself, but that was still my reality. That was still very much my reality. All right. So then I look around, and when I have good news, I'm afraid to share it with friends. Okay, let me say that again. I have good news happening, and I am afraid to share that news with my friends. That is crazy. That's crazy, right? Okay. At the time, I couldn't make sense of it. I didn't know why I felt like I felt. But then again, I did. If I took a step back, it wasn't just, in recent years that I started feeling that way. It was over time. And the reason why I can say that is because I can remember instances where I have showed something or shared something, and the response that I got back was like, you know, an underhanded compliment or some shade. And everybody know what shade is. Like, let's not, you know when you being shady, so you know when shade is given to you. That's just the bottom line. So I felt like a lot of shade was given when I would share different things. So I stopped sharing stuff. I didn't feel comfortable sharing when I got a promotion. I didn't feel comfortable sharing when I got opportunities. I didn't feel comfortable sharing, you know, news of extending my family when I got pregnant. Big things, y'all, that I didn't feel comfortable sharing. Okay, that's a telltale sign at that point that something's missing, something's wrong. And it's not their fault. It's no blame for it, because it's a self thing, right? We all have to be accountable for what we do or how we are and what we take and all of that. Just accountability all around for self. So I can acknowledge that. But the part that I was not acknowledging is the fact that I deserve to be supported and affirmed by my friends. Because guess what? I support and affirm my friends, right? And the part that was really effed up was that I had convinced myself that I wasn't worthy of these things because other people didn't have these things. How effed up is that? Okay? And I'm gonna sip my coffee real quick, okay? Okay. I really was thinking to myself that, you know, something bad is going to happen because I have this stuff. I don't want to really get too excited because it may not be true, or it may go away. Or fear crippled me. Fear held me back from being able to truly express myself, walk into spaces knowing that I deserve to be there. Even in the job that I'd gotten, imposter syndrome started to come over me, because I'm like, okay, I'm here in this space, but am I supposed to be in this space? There are not a lot of people who look like me. I'm young. I don't have a background that everyone has. I didn't go to Harvard. You know, all these things can start to pop up in your mind to try to convince you that you're not supposed to be there, when in all actuality, you're supposed to be there more than the person beside you. Let's be clear, okay? Black women are smart, talented, and then, you know, to top it off, like, our energy, we're powerful. Okay, we're powerful. And it wasn't until I started to accept that power that it really dawned on me that it's not that I'm inferior, it's that people are intimidated by me. Okay, they're intimidated by you, sis. Like, it ain't you that's the one that's like not supposed to be there. It's some people around you who may feel like they're not supposed to be there. So it's such a crazy thing that we can make ourselves believe something that is not true. And then why is it so hard for us to make ourselves believe what is actually true? Okay, but we're gonna get into that. Okay, so all those things are happening, and I'm growing, and I'm changing, and I'm seeing success in my life. And again, looking around and trying to find those day ones who I thought would be forever ones, they're not around. And it's not because, and this is not like, you know, this is not a blame game. This is not a shame thing. This is none of that. This is my truth, the pink elephant's truth, right? And the thing about it is too, I also recognize that they too were going through different things. Each woman, no matter who you are, no matter if you're married, no matter if you have children, no matter if you have money, no matter if you are rich, or poor, it doesn't matter. As a woman, there are things that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis that truly can weigh on you. All right, we got all these things around us between social media, which I'm not trying to shade social media, but it is true. Social media can play a huge part in how we view ourselves if we're not careful. We have men who are out here and they get to decide who they want, and you're waiting to get chosen, and the pressure of growing up and being an adult and being on your own. Like, we out here doing some stuff, life's, okay? And I understand that. So with that being said, I don't feel like anyone is at fault for the way in which the relationships changed. because if I think about it and I take a step back, everybody has to be the author of their own story, and everyone has to get up every day and live their own lives. So I can't decide how someone else should prioritize me, because guess what? They can't decide how I prioritize them, right? But the one thing that you can do, you can decide not to force it. Like, just let it go. Okay, so this gets into what I want to share. All right, so a couple different things, and it's probably going to be a good list. So you can get your pen and you can always go back to this video and listen to it again, and definitely leave me comments. We can have a whole conversation and dialogue about this, because I would be interested to know how many people have gone through this. So the thing that you can do, first step, truly first step to changing from a lonely space to a fulfilled space is going to be do self-work. Okay, and what I mean by self-work, if you don't have a therapist, I highly recommend one. Okay, and it's not because you need it and you're crazy and you're going through something and you know on the edge. It don't even have to be all that. You need one because when you're happy, you want to process feelings. When you're sad, you want to process feelings. When you have to make a big life decision, you want to process those thoughts and emotions. And then also too, if you're a mom, you're gonna need therapy, because guess what? You are responsible for other people's lives. Okay, so at the very least, moms, get yourself a therapist and shop around until you find the right one, and we can talk about that in another video. So that's the first thing, self-work. So a therapist is definitely going to be crucial. You want to take some self-assessments. I took the Enneagram assessment. It told me a lot about myself. I can share this with you. I found out that I have an issue with security. Okay, I've always been a little scary person, in a sense of like, I'm very, very cautious, very, very like, you know, I analyze and really, really take my time to make decisions. But I really operated in fear, like a lot, like a whole lot. And we can talk about operating in fear in another video as well. But the fear was paralyzing me. Okay, simple things like having anxiety about, you know, driving, or my husband, if he doesn't get home by a certain time, all these things could have happened. And I imagine out these crazy scenarios and extreme scenarios, and I operate in fear, and fear then leads to anxiety. So not knowing those things, it really can prevent you from growing how you want to grow. So you want to do some self-assessment. So that goes with the self-work. Okay, self-assessments in a therapist is definite. You have to. Those are must-dos. Okay, the second thing I want you to do, and the second thing that I did, was find something that really excited me. And who knew that the thing that excited me the most was talking and connecting with people? Which, if anyone knows me, they know that I've always been a talker. Matter of fact, one of my friends used to be like, okay, here go the Shanae show. And that was back then. So to see it manifest now, and yeah, we're going to start talking about manifesting. I'm about to start manifesting every single thing, because I want the best, right? That manifested into what it is now. And here I am in front of the camera. But before, I would never get on social media. I would never post. I would never get in front of a camera and talk. But I just started talking about my journey and trying to come out of being in a space of just like a rut and finding my passion. I got on camera, and guess what? I loved it. I am creative. I am a creator, and I am now embracing that part of me. And because I found that spot, excuse me, y'all, it has been like my outlet. It is giving me so much energy, so much passion, so much like fun. It's fun for me, and it has truly changed like the direction of my life now that I found something I really, really enjoy. So that's what you want to do second. You want to find something that brings you the most joy, something that you do and could do all day long. Even if it's like, I use the example of like sewing, because at one point I used to love like making clothes or cutting jeans and stuff. So someone may have been a person who loves fashion, loves sewing and putting clothes together, and that was their thing back in the day, and then they slowly let it go. Well, tap back into some of those things. get your sewing machine out, or shoot, buy a new sewing machine so you can get excited about sewing again and just start making stuff. And you don't have to tell nobody, you don't have to show nobody. It could just be you in your house setting aside time to create. And then take it a step further. When you find that thing, go on YouTube, find people who are doing the same things as you. Go on Instagram, find people who inspire your creativity. Go on TikTok. Y'all know TikTok got everything, okay? Like, if one thing we learned from the pandemic, we can learn everything from each other. So that's another thing too. We need to start embracing the fact that you can learn from other people and be open to learning, because that's where it's at. TikTok. You ain't even got to go to college. Go on TikTok. So you want to find yourself those people who inspire that spark and creativity, and it's in a safe space, because don't nobody have to know, right? Like, no one has to know what you're doing. So that's the good news about it. And honestly, until you get to a space where you are truly confident and comfortable, don't tell nobody. Don't tell nobody what you're doing. But guess what people gonna do? People gonna call you. People gonna DM you. People gonna be like, oh, hey, I see you be on like Instagram, what are you doing? Or, and this is my scenario I'm using, not the sewing scenario, but like people were hitting me up wanting to know what I'm doing, wanting to know, you know, am I trying to be somebody, you know, am I trying to show off? Like people had those questions, and believe it or not, it's gonna be close friends, it's gonna be family, it's gonna be like, yeah, you always on Facebook, okay? And obviously you're watching me. So like, those things are gonna happen as you continue to find yourself. So be warned right now that there will be naysayers, and there will be haters, because haters really actually do exist, and they're closer to you than you think. And there are gonna be people who are just nosy, flat out nosy. So be prepared. All right, so after you found your thing, you're doing it, you're finding inspiration from other people. And y'all, I really want you to hone in on finding inspiration from other people, okay? Don't feel embarrassed to get inspired from other people. There's nothing new under the sun. All you can do is build upon what's already out there, which is the best thing. That's what creativity is, designing something uniquely. So really hone in on tapping into other people. Don't be that person that don't connect with people or don't like other people, or, you know, jealous or whatever. Don't do that, because you're going to sell yourself short. Okay. After you've done that, you found your thing and you're working on it, I want you to then find yourself maybe like a coach, a career coach, who can then steer you in the direction that you really want to go in by using those gifts, that passion, to really make it into something else. Because the one thing that I do realize is that when you have a job and a career that you really, really love, and there's so much passion behind it, you're gonna make the money. You're gonna make the money. And a lot of times that's where we get stuck. Like, how am I gonna do this forever? Like, what am I supposed to do to really get to a place where I can actually do something I truly love and only want to do, and even work for myself? So find yourself a career counselor or a career coach who can help steer you in that direction and help you give you ideas on how to build it out. But while you're doing that, while you're having those conversations with the career counselor, the career coach, I want you to bet on yourself. Okay? Okay? All right? Bet on yourself, because think about all the good things that can happen. So now you have a therapist, you're processing your emotions, you're digging deeper, you're figuring out all that trauma that you may have had and carried with you to this point. You're working through it. You did your Enneagram assessment. You found out that you have an issue with security, and so to say, what else can I do with this? How can I live a purposeful life for the rest of my life and be financially secure? By going to a career coach, letting them help you go through the steps of designing something out for yourself that can make you feel fulfilled every day. And while you're doing that, you're saying, F everybody, F everything that people have to say. I'm going to bet on me. I'm going to do me. And those people will still more than likely be in that same space that they're in. But guess where you will be? You'll be growing. You'll be growing. And the reason why you will be continuing to grow is because you have then taken a situation where you were by yourself, alone, no one around, to do self-work, to find passion, to bet on yourself, to build a career. Who can touch that? Like, legit, who can touch that, y'all? And I'm gonna leave you with this, because I learned this through my Enneagram assessment, that I have a tendency to think of like the worst case scenario, the worst thing that might happen. Oh my gosh, we might drive and oh my goodness, I might get hit by a car. Oh my goodness, my daughter is going to school. I pray nothing happens at her school. Like, constantly thinking about the worst thing that could possibly happen, it crippled me. It caused me to operate in fear. It stifled my personality. I would not be in front of this camera today. But, y'all, I'm telling you, when you relinquish that fear and you say F it and bet on yourself, you're going to feel a sense of freedom that you have never felt in your entire life. I promise you that. You're going to feel so free and so proud of yourself when you do that. All right. So I want you to, instead of thinking of what's the worst thing that could happen, I want you to say, what's the best thing that could happen to me if I do this? Okay. All right, y'all. I have enjoyed this. This is the Pink Elephant, and I will see you soon. Bye.